If I had to describe my university journey in two words, it will probably be self-improvement. Throughout university, I've always been willing to invest time in improving things that I value, whether that's academically, professionally, or personally. Looking back, placement didn't necessarily change that mindset. If anything, it made me realize that I've probably been defining improvement just a little bit too narrowly. Looking back, human and psychological capital being my strongest graduate capitals wasn't particularly surprising. What surprised me instead most was social capital being my lowest. I viewed that quite negatively initially because I assumed it represented something I wasn't particularly good at. After reflecting a little bit on both my score and my placement experience, however, I realized it wasn't necessarily my weakest graduate capital. Instead, it was something that I simply had not invested in too much. That became the foundation of my strategic improvement plan moving forward. Going into placement, I expected most of my learning would come from developing technical skills and completing projects. Whilst I certainly developed those skills through placement, I realized some of my most valuable learning experiences actually came from the people around me. Whether that was asking questions, collaborating with others, or learning from professionals with different experiences, I realized professional growth instead is entirely individual. I think that was probably one of the biggest takeaways and experiences from me from this placement. Looking forward from here, I don't think my approach towards improvement changes too much or too drastically. I'll probably continue approaching things in the exact same way I always have by continuously learning and improving over time and focusing on things that I value. What changes instead is where I'm directing that kind of effort. Rather than viewing relationships as something separate from self improvement per se, I like to begin treating them as part of the process. So, for the short term and over the next 6 months, I'd like to become more intentional about maintaining relationships developed through university and placement, continuously talking to friends, maintaining contact with people such as in investment banking or in medicine and engineering. I also want to improve my LinkedIn profile, become more proactive and set that up and start networking through this kind of social media platform. And also asking professionals for advice and learning from their experiences. More importantly, I'd like to be more comfortable recognizing that I don't always need to figure everything out by myself. Just talk to people a little bit more, is essentially what I want to say. And for medium term goals, within the next 6 to 18 months, let's say, I'd like to maybe find a mentor within finance, become involved in a professional organization, maybe even register for some internships such as KPMG, PwC, EY, Big Four. I also hope to use these kind of relationships to pursue further internships, as I mentioned, and graduate opportunities that align with my said interests. The focus here isn't really about quantity. I'd much rather develop a smaller number of meaningful professional relationships over time, which kind of leads us into the long-term goals. So even further ahead, probably I would say just continuously developing both my capabilities and relationships throughout my career, and this is already quite late in the career. Ideally, this includes finding even more graduate opportunities that in my interest, and maybe climbing corporate ladder, becoming somebody that contributes to other people's growths, in the same way others may have contributed to mine in the process. So I see social capital as something I would continuously develop, and the end goal is really something that is set in stone, I would say. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thanks for listening.